Hello photographers! This week the challenge is to create a composition using negative space. So I'm just going to talk a little bit about negative space and cut in with another version of myself here. So negative space can generally be described as how your image is broken up into large areas of composition. So those areas can be dark or light. And one way you can check that, because we're not talking about like the small scale dark and light areas. Obviously you can have lots of different dark and light areas all over the picture, but we're talking about the large scale areas. And if you just squint your eyes, kind of blurs the whole scene in front of you, and you can just see that the large scale areas of dark and light. So you know your sky might be quite bright and you might have some trees that are dark, and you can work out your areas of negative space that way. And the negative space can be bright, or in the case of a sky for example, or it could be dark. It doesn't necessarily have to be flat either, like one colour. It can be, say, you can have a rock in a river creating the positive space, and the river flowing around it could be the negative space. And that's obviously got texture, it's got the flowing water, but it can be flat as well. In the case of this example, this is something I shot a little while back and I showed it in a video, I'll link up top. I've purposefully used a backdrop to create a dark, flat, negative space area. But there are other ways of creating negative space as well, not just with light and dark. You can also use focus. So in this one you'll see we've got the flower bud, or I'm not quite sure what it is, but it's the macro kind of shot there in the middle, focused on the bud, and around the edge is out of focus, and that's creating the negative space in that case. And we've just got another example here. This is at Whitby, the lighthouse. So we've got the pier creating the leading lines down to the positive space of the lighthouse, and around that you've got the sky creating the negative space. So they're just a few examples. I will go back to the video now and we'll see what I came up with. Okay, so that was my research into negative space and composition, and now I'm going to use it. And like I said, I'm out in a local area down by the riverside, and I haven't planned this at all. I don't know what I'm going to be taking a photo of, so anything could happen. Could be a complete failure, but that's photography. Hopefully it's going to be good, but we'll see. The other reason I've come out here is because I want to come back at another time when there's more preferable light conditions, perhaps a sunrise or something. So I'm just going to scope out the area, scout out a nice little spot and get a really good composition so that when I come back I'll know that composition, I'll be able to come straight to it. So let's get cracking. Right. So first of all, I'm going to try getting, I don't know if you can see it in shot, but this tree behind me. So I'm going to try, and the negative space I'm going to use is going to be the sky behind it. I'm going to try getting quite low, looking up, so that the sky is behind the tree, and that's going to be my negative space. The conditions are not great, it's quite bright. I have got a polarizing filter, and I might try using that in a moment. But first of all, I'm going to try just getting some shots with my f4 24 to 70mm lens. So I'm going to be trying out a circular polarizing filter, which is one of these. And it's basically just two thin pieces of glass, which have got special coatings and let different types of light in. And it's in this little construction where there's two kind of parts to it, and you can rotate one piece of glass over the other. And that basically just puts the two pieces of glass perpendicular, and when you do that, it blocks polarized light. And I'm going to insert a little bit into the video here, just explaining the technical kind of stuff around what a polarizer does. If you imagine a 3D world where you have a z-axis indicating the direction that the light wave will travel, and an x-axis which indicates the up and down vertical plane, and a y-axis indicating the left and right horizontal plane, and then we introduce the light wave which is travelling forwards along the z-axis. So if we introduce the polarizing filter, you'll see that for illustrative purposes the centre of the filter has these lines which are like bars, and at the moment those bars are aligned vertically, parallel with the x-axis, and the light wave is also aligned vertically, parallel with the x-axis. So that means that the light wave can go between the bars and through the filter. But if we rotate the filter so that the bars are now horizontal and parallel with the y-axis, the light wave can no longer pass through because the light wave is still vertical and the bars are horizontal. And that is how polarized light is blocked from going through the filter and into your camera lens. Other light can be in different directions, so in this case here it's in the horizontal plane, and so that can pass through the filter now. And so polarized light is blocked, other light is not blocked, and that's what gives the effect of the glare being removed from your photos. And if we just rotate the filter back, you'll see it lets the light wave through again. But in reality, in practical terms, what that does is it will take the shine off of things and reflections. So water, it'll take harsh reflections off of water. Windows, if you're taking a picture of a building, it takes harsh reflections off the windows. Or leaves, if you're in the forest, if it's been particularly wet, it'll take kind of reflection off the leaves and it'll give a much more matte effect to your image and just reduce that glare and just make it look a lot nicer. And another thing it'll do is saturate colours a little bit. So it'll help skies look a lot more blue and saturate the colours. I probably don't really need to use one too much today, but well, not in terms of reflection or glare. Maybe if I take one of the river at some point. But the leaves on the trees are all okay, there's not much glare there. But I think I'll just try it out to see if it helps with the sky and makes that, if it'll help make that look a bit richer. So I can just show you a quick example of what a polarizer will do. If we point it down here at the water, you'll see there's a lot of glare, particularly in the front part, like around here. And as I rotate the filter, you'll see that comes in and out. So there, without the polarization, and there's with the polarization, or removing the polarized light rather. So it's quite a useful filter to have, particularly if you're taking pictures of water or wet surfaces or anything reflective. So I found a couple of nice spots and I'm just taking some pictures with my phone just to get some quick compositions so that I can remember them and come back to them later. So I found a nice little scene. It's got nothing to do with negative space or the reason I came out today. But like I said, I am scouting out locations for a future time when I'm going to come in better light conditions. And I found this nice little scene now with the river. It looks really pretty. And I'm going to just practice getting a little bit of a focus stack so that when I come back for sunrise, I can really nail it first time. And I'm just checking with my compass just to see where north, east, well, mainly where east is, so I can see where the sun's going to rise. I know the sun's going to rise in that direction, so this way might look better at sunset, and if I'm shooting this way it might look better at sunrise. Okay then, so back to negative space. I've decided that I'm going to get a flower. There's these really nice pink flowers all up and down the bank of the river, and they look quite good against the backdrop of the dark water. So the dark water will surround the flower and isolate it, so that'll be the negative space and give the positive space to the flower itself and really make that stand out. So it's just a case of finding the right flower at the moment. Some look a bit shriveled up, some are not high enough, so you need the ones that are quite high so there's nothing else around it, so it's standing up above the water. I found a couple here I'm going to get a few shots of, and then maybe I'll move a bit further down the bank and see if I can find some there as well. So I'm just really zoomed in here. I'm using the polarizer still. So as you can see, I'm zoomed in at the full extent of what my lens will go to, so 70mm. I'm still going to need to crop in later because you can see there's other stuff in the shot there. But if I'm going to use this shot, what I'll do is I'll crop right in so it's just got the pink flowers against that dark background, and I'll just use Photoshop to get rid of some of the floating stuff in the water. I'm using my polarizer so you can see that's how it looks without the polarizing effect. And that's when it removes the polarized light. So yeah, we'll get that shot and see what it looks like. Okie dokie, so I think got some shots I can use there for my negative space challenge. Mainly shots of flowers, so I got some of the pink ones down near the river against the really dark water that nicely isolated it and created some negative space that way. I've also got some ones of some more the white flowers on the bank in here, and I've got those out of focus, well at a shallow depth of field, so the flower's in focus, the background's out of focus, and I'm creating negative space that way. So yeah, it's been really useful. I can post the photo for my challenge this week, so that's good. And it's also been really useful just for scouting out the area. Like I said, I want to come back to this area when there's a sunrise or just a sunset or just better light conditions. And I found some really good spots, which I've taken some little snapshots with my phone just to remember those places, and definitely going to come back. So yeah, all good. I'm going to get these photos back in Lightroom now, and we'll see what we've got. So this is the tree one from right back at the beginning of the video, where I was kind of doing the worm's eye view, looking up at it. And it's quite a nice bright image, a lot of sun, it's quite colourful and saturated. But the lighting's not great in that, you know, it's quite flat, and because it's middle of the day, and you know, it's not coming from one side or anything like that. So, and also that clump of grass down in the left-hand corner is just a bit too distracting. If that clump hadn't been there, it would have been okay, I think, this picture, with just the sky and the grass and the tree. But there was no way of taking that shot without getting that bit of grass in there, so I decided to not use this one. This was another option, one of the pink flowers on the side of the river. I think there's just I quite like how the colour pops off the background, and that background is just so dark, isn't it? That's actually water, believe it or not, but it looks like a studio backdrop because it's just so dark. So yeah, I like the colours and things, but it's the composition of the flower itself. I don't like the way that bottom leaf kind of goes off to the bottom of the frame, and there's just a bit too much of it. I think it just needed to be more minimal, and the final image that I did choose is a similar one to this, but a lot better, so I'll show you that in a moment. But first I've got this one as well, which was an option, and I was trying to use the depth of field and focus with this one. So just getting to create my negative space. So getting the flower in focus and the background just thrown out of focus a bit. And that worked. It does create the negative space with the out of focus area, but again, it's just a bit too complicated, the image. It's not simple enough. If it had been just the kind of the white, the bit on the right hand side, the clump of white flowers on the right, if it had just been that by themselves, it would have been okay, but you've got this smaller area just behind, which is just confusing things a bit, and yeah, decided to discard this one as well. And here's the final image. I was quite happy with this in the end. As you can see, it's much more simple. You've just got that one flower with a few of the kind of green unopened flowers there on the stem, and it just really pops off the background. So again, that's water in the background, it was actually the river, but it's just so dark, and then because I'm zoomed in, it's really throwing the background out, and you can't see the texture of the water, and it's really just dark and black, and it just pops off there, and you've got so much nice negative space. So yeah, I love the texture on it, I love the colour and how clear and sharp it looks. So overall I was really happy with that picture, and I submitted it for my challenge. Just a side note as well, I did go back in the evening for sunset, just to get a better picture with better light on that river scene. It's still not perfect. I think I might try a sunrise, even though the sun will rise behind me as I'm looking at this scene. I think it might shine down, so I'm not going to have the sun in the picture in the background, but it will be shining down on those trees from the left side, illuminating them. It might look really nice. But this does look much better than my practice shot at least, and it's something to work on. It's quite a local area for me, so I can go back there anytime and really work on getting a good shot there. And it's going to change throughout the year. It's going to keep changing with the different seasons, autumn and then winter, and yeah, I'm going to keep working on it until I've got a really good shot there, I think. So thanks again for watching. It really means a lot to me when everybody tunes in each week. I think I'd make these videos regardless if anybody watched them or not, because I just enjoy doing it, and I think my photography is really improving each week with it. But yeah, it's even better when I see the views going up, and I think, yeah, hopefully some people are getting something out of it as well and enjoying the videos as much as I am. So also, please don't forget to hit subscribe if you haven't already. That really helps the channel as well. The more subscribed and likes and comments and things I get, the higher that YouTube will put me up in the rankings for search and things, so even more people will get to see the videos. So yeah, please hit subscribe, and yeah, thanks again for watching. Hopefully you'll tune in for the next one. See you later.